Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, we continue following the tearful yet heartwarming journey of the single mother Lythieuca and her husband Hùng, a brave police officer. In the previous episode, a heartbreaking incident occurred. During his mission, Hùng was ambushed and attacked by criminals. The severe injuries left on his body caused him to collapse multiple times in pain. Yet, instead of turning to his wife to share the burden, Hùng chose silence. He hid everything, not a call, not a single message, because he feared Hoai would worry, feared the tears in her eyes when she saw her husband collapsing from his wounds. It was the strength of a man, but also the foolishness of a husband, bearing all the suffering alone. Fortunately, by his side was comrade Min, a loyal teammate, bonded like a brother. Min was there in time, supporting him through life and death moments. Not only did he care for Hung's wounds and prepare medicine, but he also kept the secret, hoping Hùng would recover soon and personally return to reunite with his wife and child. Those long days, the image of two men in a small house, one weakened by injuries, the other tirelessly tending to him, stood as a testament to their sacred brotherhood. But, no secret can be hidden forever. After many sleepless nights, Comrade Min could no longer conceal the truth. He went to Hoai's home and told her everything. That moment was like a dagger piercing her heart. Hoai froze, her hands dropping helplessly, her wide eyes filled with shock as tears streamed down her cheeks. A storm of emotions surged within her, worry, anger, sorrow, and above all, love. She was angry at Hùng for disregarding their bond as husband and wife, angry that he chose to suffer alone instead of sharing. Yet more than anything, she felt unbearable love, love that twisted her soul, seeing the man she cherished enduring so much pain without leaning on her shoulder. Unable to sit still another minute, Hoai made her decision. She hastily packed her belongings, just a few clothes, some medicine her mother pressed into her hands, a little food for the long trip, all wrapped in eyes swollen with tears. Outside, the village road was still familiar, but her footsteps were heavier than ever. Her heart was torn in 100 ways, anger and love, fear and longing. Angry that Hùng kept secrets, loving him because he was in pain, fearful his wounds might claim his life, and yearning above all to embrace him, to nurse him back to health, to comfort him like the days they once had together. The night before her departure, Hoai sat silently on the porch. Silver moonlight stretched across the narrow lane, the sound of insects whispering like companions to her sorrow. She looked into the distance, not knowing exactly where her husband was, yet certain that if she searched, she would find him. Her eyes glimmered with both faith and determination. No matter how hard it is, I must reach him, so he knows he is never alone in this world. And so, a new journey begins. A journey filled with tears, but also overflowing with love, one that opens unexpected turns we will witness together in today's story. Upon hearing that Hùng was injured, Hoai felt as if she were sitting on a bed of fire. Her whole body trembled, her hands clutching the hem of her shirt so tightly that her fingertips turned red. Her heart twisted in agony, every wave of worry tearing her apart. She hurriedly pulled little Tony into her arms, kissed his soft cheek, then placed him gently beside Grandma. Her voice broke, tears falling onto her child's fine hair. "Tony, my sweet boy, stay home with Grandma. Mommy has to go find Daddy, otherwise my heart will never be at peace." Turning to her mother, she poured out her soul. "Mom, I leave Tony with you. Only with you taking care of him can I find peace of mind to search for my husband. I can't just sit still while he's suffering alone like this." Mother held her grandson close, her own eyes clouded with tears. Placing a hand on her daughter's shoulder, she nodded, her trembling voice steady yet resolute. "Go, my child. Whatever happens, a husband and wife must face it together. When you find him, speak honestly with each other. But remember to take care of yourself too, so you can care for both your husband and your child." Hoai nodded, tears streaming endlessly down her cheeks. Her small figure faded away along the familiar village path, carrying with her all the worry, love, and determination of a devoted wife. The road to where Hung was felt endless. The sound of engines, the wind, the rustling leaves, none of it could drown out the pounding of her heart. With each step, an urgent voice echoed inside her, "My love, please hold on. I'm coming to you." At last, after the long, torturous journey, she arrived at the modest wooden house where Comrade Min was caring for Hung. The mountain air was fresh, yet her heart raced with breathless anticipation. She stood frozen before the wooden door, her hand trembling before she finally knocked gently. The old door creaked open, and the sight of Hung left her stunned. He sat leaning against a chair, his face pale and gaunt, hair damp with sweat, his body thin and worn from days of struggle. His arm was wrapped in white bandages, his shoulder bore scars, and his leg relied on a crutch propped against the wall. In that moment, Hoai's world collapsed. She burst into uncontrollable sobs, her vision blurred by tears, and rushed to her husband. She fell to her knees, wrapping her arms tightly around him, as if holding on to the fragile life of the man she loved. "Do you know how worried I've been? Why did you hide this from me? Why did you make me endure alone while you were suffering like this?" Her voice trembled, breaking into sobs. Hung sat still, his frail hands weakly wrapping around his wife's back. His whole body shook with emotion, his eyes red, his voice choked, barely able to form the words. "I'm sorry. I didn't want you and our son to suffer. I thought, if I carried this pain alone, then you and Tony would be at peace. I can bear it, as long as you two are safe." Hearing those words, Hoai wept harder. In her tears were reproach, love, anger, and forgiveness all at once. She pressed her face into his shoulder, gripping him tightly, as if to pour her strength into him, willing him to survive. In that tearful embrace, all anger melted away. What remained was only burning love and the desperate desire to overcome hardships together. Their tears mingled, soaking their shoulders, sealing their reunion after days apart. In the corner of the room, Comrade Min quietly watched. A soft sigh of relief escaped him, a faint smile breaking across his sun-browned face. After all, the waiting had ended with a reunion full of emotion. In that quiet wooden house deep in the mountains, the light of love and unity once again warmed their hearts, a reminder that as long as love endures, no hardship can ever break them apart. At dawn the next morning, the first rays of sunlight slipped through the wooden window, casting a gentle glow over the small room where Hung lay recovering. The soft golden light mingled with the crisp mountain breeze, carrying with it the scent of grass and trees. From afar, the chirping of forest birds echoed, as if awakening new hope and heralding the start of a brighter day. In the modest kitchen, Hoai had risen early. The whole night she had hardly slept, dozing only briefly by her husband's side. Now, though her eyes were still swollen and red, they shone with determination. Stepping into the yard, she joined the hostess, who had prepared fresh herbs. The two women bent over the clay pot, smoke from simmering medicine rising and filling the kitchen with its pungent, bitter scent. Yet within Hoai's heart, that bitterness felt warm and comforting. Beside the bubbling pot of rice porridge, her small hands moved quickly and carefully. Every action, stirring the fire, adding water, seasoning, was infused with worry and love for her husband. Sweat beaded her forehead, but she paid it no mind. All she wished was that, when Hung awoke, there would be a hot bowl of porridge waiting to restore his strength. Inside the room, Hung stirred. His wound still throbbed, but he refused to lie idle any longer. Bracing himself with the wooden crutch, he struggled to stand. Each step was heavy, as if 1,000 needles pierced his flesh. Sweat rolled down his temples and soaked his shirt, his lips pressed tight to stifle any groan. Yet his eyes burned with determination. He thought of his wife, his child, of the battles still ahead, and whispered to himself, "I cannot stay down. I must rise. I must be strong." He limped out onto the porch and paused, watching Hoai bustling at the hearth. Her slight figure, so steadfast and tireless, sent a shiver through his heart. All these years, she had carried the weight of both wife and mother, and now she bore the burden of nursing him too. His chest tightened, flooded with regret and love. When the porridge was ready, Hoai gently set the steaming bowl on the worn wooden table. As she lifted her gaze, she saw Hùng, pale and weary, making his way toward her on his crutch. He forced a faint smile. Startled, she hurried over to steady him into a seat. Hùng sat beside his wife, his trembling hand reaching to grasp hers, hands roughened by labor, still faint with the smell of smoke, yet the warmest anchor he knew. Drawing a deep breath, he spoke, his voice low and solemn, like a vow etched into stone. "I promise, from now on, I will never hide anything from you again. We are husband and wife. Whatever happens, we must face it together. No matter how hard it gets, I will never let you bear the worry alone again." Hoai lifted her gaze to him, eyes glistening with tears. This time, her tears did not fall from sorrow, but from happiness. Her lips curved into a tender smile as she replied, her voice sweet yet firm. "As long as you trust me, as long as you share with me, then no hardship will ever break me. I don't fear suffering, I only fear losing you." Their hands clasped tightly, sealing every word, every promise with love. Outside, the morning sun poured golden light across the porch, while the breeze carried the fragrance of grass and trees into the small house. In that moment, amidst the quiet mountains, two fragile souls discovered immense strength in their love. Both Hùng and Hoai knew that from this day forward, they would shoulder everything together, no secrets left between them, and no hardship ever strong enough to part their bond. Late in the afternoon, the last rays of sunlight filtered through the dense forest canopy, painting the yard before the wooden house in a soft orange-gold glow. From the distant mountains came the gentle murmur of a stream, mingling with the calls of birds returning to their nests, creating a tranquil symphony of the wilderness at dusk. A breeze slipped through the cracks of the door, carrying the fresh scent of wild grass, gently swaying the old fabric curtain. Inside the small room, Hoai carefully carried in a basin of warm water. Wisps of steam rose, veiling her dark hair and tender face in a soft mist. Her slender figure, bathed in the fading light of evening, seemed all the more delicate, but in her eyes shone a deep, unwavering love that silenced the world, leaving only the soft sound of her footsteps. She set the basin down on a low wooden stool and folded a clean cloth with deliberate care. Every movement was gentle and precise, as if fearing even the slightest mistake would cause her husband more pain. Sitting beside Hùng, she gently unwrapped the bandages already stained with old blood. Each time her eyes fell on the raw, bleeding wounds, her heart clenched as though gripped by an unseen hand. Her breath grew heavy, her hands trembled, yet she steadied them, forcing herself to remain calm. She dipped the cloth into the basin, wrung it carefully until it was just warm enough, and pressed it against Hung's wound. The touch of the heat on torn flesh made him wince, his brows furrowing, his breathing quickening. He bit his lip hard, holding back the groan, not wanting to deepen his wife's worry. Seeing this, Hoai's chest ached as if pierced by 1,000 needles. Tears welled in her eyes, sparkling, ready to fall, but she pressed her lips together firmly, refusing to let them spill just yet. When Hùng looked up, he met the anxious gaze of his wife. He forced a faint smile, a fragile smile that nonetheless carried all his love and gratitude. To reassure her, he reached out, grasping the hand with which she tended his wound. His palm was cold and trembling, but his voice, though weak, was full of warmth. "I'm so lucky to have you by my side." His words stunned Hoai, her heart quivering with emotion. This time, she could no longer hold back. A tear slipped silently down, mingling with the steam rising from the basin. She bowed her head, her long hair falling like a curtain to hide her tear-streaked face. Her voice broke, yet each word rang clear and resolute. "As long as you're with me, every hardship is worth it. I can endure any struggle, as long as I still have you." Hung squeezed her hand tighter, as if to pass her his vow, that he would never let go. In that moment, they forgot the pain of wounds, the storms and dangers beyond the door. There was only their deep, unshakable love, like a flame burning brightly, warming the small room in the twilight. Outside, the sky darkened to deep violet, the last rays of sunlight fading behind the mountains. But within their hearts, the light of happiness shone brighter than ever before, the light of faith, of a bond no hardship could sever, and of a silent promise. No matter what storms awaited, they would face them together, side by side, forever. Hung's days of leave passed in a rare, precious peace. They were not idle days, but days filled with warmth, days when Hung and Hoai could live slowly, cherishing each simple, ordinary moment together. The small wooden house nestled in the mountains, once accustomed to silence, now echoed with laughter, conversation, and the gentle sounds of family life. In the mornings, when the sun was still peeking from behind the ridges, Hoai rose to light the fire. Wisps of blue smoke curled upward in the cool mountain air. Though still in pain, his leg reliant on a wooden crutch, Hung refused to remain idle. He slowly stepped into the yard, sweeping fallen leaves, helping his wife hang golden bundles of corn beneath the eaves. Sometimes, he even insisted on carrying a small bucket of water, limping toward the garden. His steps were slow, his shirt damp with sweat, yet his eyes shone with joy. Each time he saw his wife bending over the vegetable patch, his gaze softened, filled with gratitude. Hoai's heart ached with both love and reproach, yet above all, she felt peace, because she knew he was striving to live for her, for their child, for their family. By noon, the couple spread their rice harvest to dry in the yard. The golden grains glistened under the sun, stretching like a shimmering carpet. Hoai worked diligently, spreading each basketful evenly, while Hung teased and joked beside her. When a gust of wind suddenly lifted a flurry of grains into the air, she frowned in annoyance, but Hung only laughed and said, "Even the wind wants to play with you, Hoai." His words made her burst into laughter through tears, the fatigue melting away. Their laughter mingled with the golden sunlight, painting a picture of peace they had rarely known before. As evening fell, the sun sank crimson behind the mountains, casting the world in a gentle orange glow. Hoai tied up her hair, holding a bucket to water the back garden. Hung sat nearby on a small stool, his crutch leaning against it. Quietly, he watched his wife bustling among the rows of greens, a serene smile blooming on his lips. In his eyes, there was no more shadow, no trace of wounds, only the simple joy of seeing his wife healthy, hearing the trickle of water, and breathing the scent of cool earth and vegetables. When night came, the bright moonlight poured silver across the eaves. On the old wooden table, steam rose from a teapot. Hoai poured tea, handed a cup to her husband, then leaned gently on his shoulder. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the crickets sing, before sharing their stories. Hung spoke of his early days in the force, of his youthful memories as a soldier. Hoai told of the first rice harvests, the long seasons of waiting and loneliness, the small dream of a tiled roof home and a garden full of fruits and vegetables for their child to play in. Words and laughter intertwined, eyes shimmering, hands clasped tightly together in the cool night air, their small home glowing with the fire of love. Then, on a windy afternoon, as the rustle of forest leaves filled the air, Hùng suddenly turned to his wife. His eyes were deep, lit with a resolve stronger than ever. His voice was low but firm as he said, "From now on, I promise I will never hide anything from you again. Be it work or hardship, I want us to share it together. You are my wife, my only anchor. I can't let you worry in the dark ever again." For a moment, Hoai was stunned into silence. Her heart quivered, then she smiled softly. She rested her head on his shoulder, letting his warmth spread into her, and whispered, her words delicate as the wind yet steady, piercing straight into his heart. "We are husband and wife. As long as we have each other, nothing can separate us. I'm not afraid of hardship, only of losing you." In that moment, the mountains seemed to fall silent, the evening wind stilled, as if to listen to their sacred vow. In their tight embrace, they understood, no matter how fierce the storms outside, this home would always remain their safest haven. The days of peace drifted by like a priceless gift, rekindling the flame of happiness within the small home hidden deep in the mountains. Laughter rang out on the porch, the sound of a broom sweeping the yard, water trickling from the garden rose, and the quiet afternoons when husband and wife walked side by side. All these moments soothed the wounds, both physical and emotional, that Hùng had endured. At night, when the moonlight blanketed the yard, Hùng and Hoai sat together, hand in hand, sipping hot tea as they shared past memories and future dreams. In every smile, every glance, every squeeze of their hands, one could see an unshakable bond, a faith that all storms would eventually pass. But will this peace truly last? Beyond the walls of their humble home, shadows still linger. The ruthless criminals, the very ones who once struck Hùng down, leaving scars yet to heal, have not been captured. Like predators lurking in the dark, they remain hidden, silently watching, waiting for the slightest chance to pounce and shatter the fragile happiness this young couple has just begun to grasp. Will love and faith be strong enough to help Hùng and Hoai face the trials ahead? Can their little home withstand the dangers looming on the horizon, or will it once again be battered by storms that life mercilessly hurls their way? Stay tuned for the next episode to witness the moving, dramatic, and unexpected turns in this story of love, resilience, and the unyielding strength of a young couple.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến với mọi người câu chuyện của mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài Ca và cảnh sát Hùng. Mọi người thân mến, thì như mọi người cũng đã biết, mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài Ca và cảnh sát Hùng đã cùng nhau vượt qua rất là nhiều khó khăn gian khổ thì mới có thể đến bên nhau, và họ cũng đã sống và coi nhau như vợ chồng. Và Hùng thì lại rất thương cho Hoài Ca và không muốn cô phải khổ sở, nên là khi anh bị thương thì anh cũng đã tự cố gắng chịu cái nỗi đau và nỗi cô đơn đến một mình, chứ không muốn Hoài Ca phải chịu với mình. Thì mọi người thân mến, trong cái khoảng thời gian mà Hùng bị thương thì có đồng chí Minh là chăm sóc anh. Tuy nhiên nhìn cái hoàn cảnh của Hùng quá thương tâm nên đồng chí Minh đã quyết định là nói với Hoài Ca, và khi Hoài Ca biết được sự thật, cô đã gửi Tony, con trai của mình, cho mẹ Hà và đến và chăm sóc Hùng, và hai người đã ở bên nhau cũng như là cảm nhận được tình yêu của nhau. Vậy thì liệu mọi chuyện tiếp theo sẽ diễn ra như thế nào? Mình mời mọi người xem tiếp ở video ngày mai, và mình sẽ lên video đều, mọi người nhớ đón xem nhé.